So you might be familiar with UGREEN because of their charging products and power banks and so on. They have entered the market with something very interesting. This guy over here. This is their brand new NAS. Their brand new NAS series. And even though being a brand new NAS manufacturer, there are some things that some of the other NAS manufacturers may want to learn from this guy. But it does not come without buts. There are some buts, and I'm going to talk about these as well. Let's go.
Looking for a cheap way to license your Windows? Check out WhoKeys through the links in the video description. Make sure to use the code TN20
to get 25% off. Use your preferred payment method including PayPal or bank card. Go to your orders and copy the key.
Paste the license to the activation settings and you're all done. This license is for Windows 10, but you can upgrade it to Windows 11 for free.
Or you can buy Windows 11 Pro key instead.
They also offer Microsoft Office 19 license. Use the same code TN20
to get 25% off.
Check out whokeys.com in the video description below.
Now, I want to start with the but. The but is that I had a huge pain trying to get this working. This might be just me, and this probably is not going to be you, because the NAS was sent to me by UGREEN, and the software that it was running was way pre whatever version, and basically nothing was working on the NAS. I couldn't even connect to it. It was absolutely horrendous. I couldn't even update the software until finally I did some magic of restarting, hard restarting, pulling power out, putting back on. I finally managed to update this to the latest software, and voila, everything is working. So here's future me with little clarifications about this one. Now, I had the pre-production model, and you should not have this problem. But if you do, let me show you how to get the quick fix. If you don't know how to update the NAS, so here we are, logged into the NAS. All you have to do is go to Control Panel and then Update and Restore. And oh, would you look at that? I already have an update as well. So you just click update, let it do its thing, and you shouldn't have any issues. Everything should be working. If your unit has a very early version of the operating system installed, just update it and you're all good to go. Because this video has taken a little longer than I expected, the product is actually now launched, and when you're getting this product, it's not a pre-production model. This is just full production model, but it's still good to know how to update the NAS. Now, I don't think you should have that problem, but I think it's worth mentioning because this is on a Kickstarter. So a little clarifying thoughts about the Kickstarter project. Now, the interesting thing is the products are actually going to be available in stores to buy like Amazon and their website the end of May, which is about 6 weeks from the point of me making the video and maybe about 2 months by the end of when the Kickstarter project ended, which is actually not enough time to start a product production or to actually make a product. So they actually had the product already launched, and they used the Kickstarter program or the platform to actually gain how much interest there is on the market. Have a marketing strategy to gain the interest of consumers. And there's a lot of interest. They funded $3.7 million in the first 2 days of the Kickstarter project launch, which is very interesting. So this is one of those good examples of Kickstarter projects, if you know what I mean. Now, about the good sides. And first of all, we're gonna start from the outside of the case. What a beautiful design. Very solid design. This is a whole metal chassis out of one piece of metal. It's absolutely awesome. I don't have any issues with the build quality. Even the drive slats inside, even though being plastic, they felt very, very durable for me. And how much are you really going to change these hard drives in there? This is not for like a server use where it has to be metal because you change them a lot of the time. I think it's completely fine. But let's talk about some of the hardware and specs on the outside of the case. If we're looking on the back of the PC case, you can see many ports in there. One of the highlights is a 10 gigabit Ethernet. Yes, this DXP4800 Plus does come with a 10 gigabit Ethernet. Secondary LAN port is 2.5 gigabit Ethernet. We've got two USB 2.0 headers, then one 10 gigabit USB port, then one USB 3.2 port, and a HDMI port if you want to connect to it. On the back of the NAS, you also see a magnetic dust cover. So it pulls the air in from the back and pushes it out from the front. And in order to clean it, it's really nice to have this magnetic cover here so you can do that. It does have pretty big holes, so I'm not sure how much dust actually gets stuck in here. Then in the front, what we can see are 4 drive bays. It supports up to 96 terabytes of storage. So if you have 24 terabyte hard drives, I'll leave some in the description below if you want to check that out, which is not bad. We have a power button and some LEDs. I like that these LEDs are all white. We don't have any other different colors here. It looks very much minimalistic as well. And then we've got some specialty things. We've got an SD card reader, we've got USB Type-C and USB Type-A port. So if you're a creator and you're coming back home from a shoot and you're thinking, okay, let's ingest the footage maybe directly to NAS. All you do is plug your SD cards in there, your hard drives in here, whether USB Type-C or Type-A, and start downloading the footage directly from the NAS to the NAS. So you're copying it directly here, not from your laptop to the NAS. Let's say your MacBook, you know, doesn't have the 10 gigabit Ethernet port in here. When you're putting it in here, it starts transferring over Wi-Fi, which is not going to be as fast, but plugging them directly into the NAS, it's going to be much faster. Now, because of the 10 gigabit Ethernet port, the transfer speeds can be up to 1,250 megabytes per second. Now that's a theoretical maximum bandwidth, but I'll show you in a minute what I'm getting. That's not all. Underneath this NAS is actually another latch where you can easily access the RAM and the M.2 SSDs. Now, the RAM can easily be upgraded, and this is the first NAS that I know has DDR5 RAM. This is equipped with 8 gigabytes right now, 4800 megatransfers per second, but it can be upgraded up to 64 gigabytes, which is quite insane. And the two M.2 SSDs there, they support PCIe Gen 4, and I'm running two Samsung 980 Pro 2 terabyte drives. Now, if you want a good drive that actually is supported with this, I actually asked UGREEN, will these be supported? I'm getting full speed with these, so they are fully supported, and they're quite affordable now as well, because the 990 Pro lineup is out, and you know, the Gen 5 starts to come out, but the 980 Pros seem to be quite affordable. So if you want a good, solid option of M.2 drives, I highly recommend checking out Samsung 980 Pro. I've got the 2 terabyte versions in there, and I can confirm they work completely fine. Now, I know some of the other YouTubers out there have tried some different drives, M.2 drives, but they didn't get fully the speed out there, even though being faster drives on PC. But because they're not maybe fully verified with the NAS manufacturer, they're not getting the full speed, but I'm getting the full speed with the 980 Pros. The CPU inside there is actually an interesting one. It's a 5-core, 6-thread CPU, and you're like, what the heck is this? It's a 12th gen processor, so it's got P cores and E cores, and that's why we're seeing some random thread counts and this. But basically, the E cores are fine when they're running stuff in the background, which makes it more efficient, but when it needs it, I think it's got 1 P core and then the rest of them are E cores. So 1 P core and 4 E cores makes 6 threads, if that makes sense. Now, changing the M.2s inside there is very, very easy, and it comes with very thick thermal pads to actually put on top of the SSDs so that the cover underneath the NAS becomes a heatsink, so the heat of these M.2s actually gets dissipated. Now, is this the best solution? I don't know. I wish we still were included into the airflow that comes from the back to the front, but the M.2s underneath there don't get any of the back airflow, so it's just kind of passively cooled underneath there, so there's no airflow on the top. Yep, I can feel the bottom cover has some heat to it. Now then, let's connect to the NAS. All you have to do is download the UGREEN NAS client. When you open that, you can do your UGREEN cloud account or local account, but when you set up the NAS, you just set up the local account, and then all we do is LAN search that the router has set to this. We're gonna press connect. Just put the username and password in what you've set, and voila, we are on the NAS. Okay, so I'm gonna go full screen in there. So this is the UI of this NAS and how you connect to it. And you can map the drives obviously easily as well, which I have done here. As you can see, I've got it's easier if I go to storage manager so you can see what I have done. So if you see the overview, I've got 4 hard drives in there, and the hard drives in there are 4 terabyte Iron Wolf NAS drives that are installed in there. Installation is very, very nice as well, by the way, because it's toolless installation. You get your hard drives, you pull the slats sideways, it kind of opens up, put the hard drive in, push them back together and put them in there. Super easy, no screws needed, whatever. You can put SATA SSDs in there as well, but then you're gonna have to screw some stuff in. But if you've got hard drives, no problem. So here you can see disk status, you can see your M.2 slots as well, which I have in there. So we can see hard drives 1, 2, 3, 4, they are 37 degrees, and the M.2s are 40, 41 degrees. So completely fine in terms of just idle usage there as well. Storage management, I've created 2 pools, one for the hard drives and one for the M.2s. The hard drive pool is running RAID 5, which means I'll lose 1 capacity of the hard drives, but the M.2 SSDs underneath have RAID 1, which means that I'm getting redundancy. Either one of them can break, but I still have all of the data, but I have half of the capacity as well. But the good thing about RAID 1 is that when you're reading data off it, it's actually better because the data is split between two drives. You can actually read faster. The write speed's a little bit slower, but these drives are fast enough so that you're always going to be bottlenecked by the actual connection type, which would be 10 gigabit Ethernet rather than the M.2 speed, just so you know. So I've created the two storage pools there, and as you can see, I've got the 11 terabyte one, which is 12 terabyte, but because of the hard drive size, it kind of comes up total 11 terabytes. Let's see what the maximum is here. Oh, 10.1 terabyte actually. No, what is together? 10.70 terabytes. That's the 4 terabytes. And then I've got the 2 terabyte NVMe RAID on UGREEN NAS as well. So these two, and I've got some stuff on it so I can actually show you some of the test speeds of reading and writing on there now as well. Let's check out the speed then. So I've got this file here, a Blackmagic RAW file, 74 gigabytes. We're going to copy that, and that's on the SSDs, and we're going to be pasting this onto desktop, which we'll put in here. I've got one on the desktop here as well, but just going to paste it onto the desktop. And look at that. I'm reading files off it 1.1 gigabytes per second. Okay, now it's dropping down a little bit. It's very CPU intensive task here, and goes down a little bit, 720. It's when the boost speed, so if you go to task manager here, you can see CPU utilization. Let's have a look at this. 670 still in there. Now this is where roughly kind of the CPU boost clocks actually start to matter and kind of now utilize. It's, you know, like all Intel CPUs, you know, they boost very high at first and then they start to drop the clock speeds a little bit. So as you can see now, we're averaging about 650, 607, okay, 700. As you can see now, we're pushing it back. Okay, there we go. There we go. Getting some boost clocks back up, I guess. So you can see 70 degrees there. It goes a little bit warmer. I can hear the fan clicks in. Look at that, 89 degrees when it pushed there. So you really tried to like boost. So this is the boost algorithm. We're getting like 1050 megabytes per second, something like that. That's pretty interesting. Now let's check the read speed of the actual hard drives. So these hard drives will take this 17 gigabyte file and we're going to paste it on there. As you can see, because the hard drives are slower, we're getting roughly around 350 megabytes per second, or something around there, because now the hard drives are the bottleneck. We're reading stuff off the hard drives. But as you can see, look at that, sometimes boosting to almost 400 megabytes, but kind of hovering somewhere around 300 megabytes to 350. Let's take a look at the CPU utilization now. It's not going to be utilized now as much because the hard drives are the bottleneck, not the CPU. That 300 megabytes per second, that's kind of like your 2.5 gigabit LAN speed. So you can actually edit some of the basic stuff even on the NAS. I mean, even 1 gigabyte, you can do some editing on it, but you can edit some of the video on the NAS directly if you just want to create all of your project in there if you wanted to. Now, I don't recommend that. I'd recommend you do the editing on the M.2 drives because of the random read and write speed will be much better. But here's a very interesting thing. This is what makes me very excited. Now, there is an actual app that you can download for this, which is a UGREEN NAS kind of an app. As you can see, I've got it here on my Android phone. This works both on Windows, iOS, Mac, everything works. And this works exactly the same thing. I'll have to log in. I can see this there. I've got my passwords already saved there. We're gonna log in. And here is our NAS, what I can see what's happening in there. And I can access all the files in there. So if I'm gonna go to file management, I can see both of these, the same folders that I have on the PC, 11 terabytes, and then our 2 terabyte NAS. The interesting thing is, because this has got the 12th gen Intel processor, it's got a little iGPU as well, which does support H.265 video playback. Like, look at this. I'm connected to this now, wirelessly, and this works faster than on my PC if I'm trying to play this back. So look at that. I'm going to click on this file here and look at that, how fast I'm playing it back already. Boom, H.265 file. Okay, let's try this one here. Let's fast forward a bit. Okay, a bigger file, it seems to be struggling here now. This is a massive, massive file, but I can definitely preview the files in here. The smaller file, I think this is like a 70 gigabyte file or something like that. 17 gigabytes. Look how fast it does it. I'm so surprised. As you can see, if you want to double check your raw footage, this is obviously log from my A7S III. I can completely check it on my phone that I've just downloaded into there. That's one cool thing. The other bit is I can always manage or check out all the hardware temperature in here as I want here as well. And bear in mind, if you're gonna do the cloud account, then you can access this NAS from anywhere in the world. You can check your files in there on your actual phone. Wherever you are, you can check all the files on the NAS, which is pretty cool. But I can see that some of the hardware monitoring in there, system status, CPU usage, RAM usage, monitoring, look, all of this, what we can see on the PC, we can do that in here as well, which is pretty cool. Then you've got some apps in here if you wanted to install anything. Now, because this is a little bit of a newish NAS, there's not that many apps available as on the likes of QNAP or ASUS, but regardless, everything that you might need are here. Also, when we go to the file manager, I can also see these SSDs and drives that are plugged into the NAS on here, and we can see this on the PC as well. When we go to file manager, peripheral, and here you can see the crucial drive, the X9 that's plugged in there, as well as an SD card reader. Now, the interesting thing about the SD card reader is I would have expected this to be like 100 megabytes per second, kind of a, you know, SD card reader slot there. But I'm seeing read speeds of up to 250, 80 something megabytes per second, which means that this slot here of the SD cards is actually faster than just 100 megabytes per second. So if you've got your V60s, V90 cards for this, that's very interesting. Although I didn't see a constant 250 megabytes per second read speeds, so I don't know if the task manager is actually showing me 250 and then down, which kind of averages 100 megabytes per second, or I'm actually getting these peak speeds. But the peak speeds I shouldn't be getting if this slot wouldn't be above 100 and something megabytes per second, if that makes sense. And the USB-C here, I'm getting about 10 gigabit speeds, so 800 something megabytes per second read speeds from this, which is very, very nice. So I can download my Blackmagic files from here to there around 800 megabytes per second, which is about the same that I would be getting on the PC on the front or back USB-C port. We can go to my crucial drive here and we can see, okay, what's in here? What is this file? We can even play back these through that wirelessly. As you can see, I've got this here. That's quite a big file. Let's see this one, another one. Okay, I can see which files these are there. Some screen recording. As you can see, this is quite big. We can play it back. This is H.265 as well, and it's playing back no problem, which is insane. Can you see that? I'm wirelessly accessing these files on this SSD here. Is that cool? I think it's pretty cool. Now, let's also test write speeds. So let's take this 173 gigabyte file, and we're gonna put this onto the NVMEs in there, and let's check out the speed. So we're writing on it about 750 megabytes per second. Now, the interesting thing is, what if we'll take another file here and we put it onto the hard drive at the same time? So now we're pegging both of these at the same time, and we're trying to fully saturate a 10 gigabit Ethernet connection. So here's what, you know, some of the files get written on the hard drive, some of them on the M.2 SSDs. Let's take a look what the CPU usage here is. As you can see, CPU is very fully utilized. Probably CPU bottleneck there. But what is our total here? About 550 and then 180, something like that, megabytes per second. If we pause one, the hard drives are going to go to 200 megabytes per second, 250, somewhere around there. If we pause the hard drives and add the M.2 SSDs, we're going roughly about 1 gigabytes per second, as you can see. The cooling of this works really, really well. Like, I can feel the air being pushed out from the front there. And if we're going to storage manager here, looking at the M.2 SSDs, look, they're still like 50 degrees, even though we're absolutely writing files on it. Hard drive's very, very good as well. Not bad at all. Now, there's so much more that you could do with this NAS, like photo editing. It's got some AI as well. Regarding the AI, the way you can use it is actually when you go to photos and you've got loads of photos updated there, their search engine is AI based and recognizes keywords. So if you want to find a bridge, for example, then you just type in the keywords and you'll find the photos you're looking for, instead of just scrolling through endless amount of photos and trying to remember, did I take this photo there or then, or was it on Tuesday? No, I think it was the last month. So now just type in your keywords and you can find your photos, which is a very helpful feature. I think this is really for people who want kind of a little bit of a hybrid way of editing photos, video, something like that, where you have a bit of a larger storage and then the M.2 SSDs on the bottom where you can actually edit the project off. Once you're done, you move them from the M.2 to the hard drives or vice versa, something like that. If you're interested in this NAS, I'm gonna leave the links in the description below and you should be able to receive 35% off. So go through those links and you'll see what a good price this NAS is, because it's pretty crazy. Now, my conclusion about this is that I'm very excited to see products more like this launch, because we've seen a lot of the NAS manufacturers actually disappear. We only got like a few left, and to have something like this, and even though I had some issues in the beginning, I understand and I can give a benefit of doubt because this is a pre-production model and they're trying to work to get this product launched, and I can only imagine what big of a, you know, insane process this is in the headquarters. But to have a pre-production model that is so polished, so nice, once you get the software working, it's absolutely insane. And for most people, I'm not going to be spending a lot of time on the NAS UI anyway. I'm just going to be mapping the drives and just using this as storage, and that seems to be working fine, which I'm super excited about, especially the 10 gigabit port in the back. So I'd love to know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Check out this NAS in the description below, and I can't wait to check out some of their other NAS products, especially the all M.2 NAS or some of the bigger ones out there, maybe with a little bit more powerful processor, CPU, so we're not going to get so CPU bottlenecked here. I'd love to check that one out. As always, if you want to build yourself the best bang for buck create PC, then there's some build guides in the description below, completely free. And if you want to reach out to me, have any other questions, reach out in Minect, and I'll see you very, very soon. Thanks guys for watching. Bye-bye.